Hello CJ Math students. So today we're going to be working with fractions in the real world, and what better way to do it than describing my trip to Ireland last week. First you're going to copy down, I need you to be the world's problem solvers. There are tons of problems out there that need our help. The only way we can begin to help solving those problems is having the knowledge to do so. So part of math class is gaining that knowledge so you can go out and make the world a better place. So let's do problem number 1 together. This is a picture of the flight path from the US to Dublin, Ireland. So here's Chicago over here. I flew all the way to Dublin over there. Imagine the following. The flight is 7 3/4 hours long. Mr. Mason slept for 3 1/3 hours during the flight. How long was Mr. Mason awake? So let's think about this. If this is 7 3/4 hours long and I slept for about 3 1/3 hours, how would I find out the amount of time that I was awake? Well, I'd take the entire flight and I'd subtract out the amount of time I was asleep to find out the amount of time I was awake. So I'm going to go 7 3/4 minus 3 1/3. Hopefully you have your how do I or summary sheet out right now, and you can easily figure out how do you subtract mixed numbers. Well, the first thing you need to do is find common denominators. Notice that we have a 4 and a 3. That's not okay. So I have to go ahead and say, all right, what numbers or what common denominator do 4 and 3 share? So I'll say 4 and 3 off to the side, and I'll write their multiples. 4, 8, 12, 16, 3, 6, 9, 12. Oh, there it is. There's our common denominator. So I want to make both of these denominators 12. How to make 4 12? I multiply by 3. And how do I make 3 12? I multiply by 4. Right. In doing so, I'll have this fraction become 7, and 3 times 3 is 9 over 12, minus 3 and 1 times 4 is 4 over 12. And now we just subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4, 9 minus 4 is 5, and you keep the denominator of 12. So I was awake for 4 5/12 what? Hours. Always put your units for word problems. So I was awake for more than half of the flight. And sometimes there's a lot to do. There's movies or whatever on the plane, but this time I just read my Harry Potter book. Question number 2. This is Aviva Stadium located in Dublin, Ireland, right here. This pretty cool looking stadium right here. This is where Mr. Mason saw Boston College lose to Georgia Tech. Imagine the following. 3/7 of the fans in the stadium cheered for Boston College, BC, and 2/5 of the fans in the stadium cheered for Georgia Tech, GT. What fraction of the stadium cheered for either BC or Georgia Tech? So let's flush out this question a little bit. What fraction of the stadium cheered for either BC or Georgia Tech? So they don't want to figure out who cheered for more. They want to figure out, all right, if this stadium is 3/7 full of BC fans and 2/5 full of Georgia Tech fans, how much of the stadium altogether is BC or Georgia Tech fans, right? Some of the fans are going to be local fans from Ireland, right? Because the game was in Ireland. They probably don't know anything about football, but they're just curious to see, what the Americans are all excited about, right? So we're going to take 3/7 and we're going to add it to 2/5. All right, so same thing again. We notice that we have denominators that are different, so we need to find common denominators. I'll have 7s over here, 5s right here, and let's list the multiples. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, stop there, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and finally we have our common denominator of 35. So I want to make 7 become 35. How do I do that? I multiply it by 5. And I want to make 5 become 35. How do I do that? I multiply it by 7. So this fraction becomes 3 times 5 is 15 over 35. Plus 2 times 7 is 14 over 35. And we add the numerators and keep the denominators. So 15 plus 14 is 29 over 35. Okay. Now, what are our units here? I guess 29 of 35 of the fans in the stadium. So 29/35 fans, we could say, in stadium, rooted for either Georgia Tech or Boston College. So there was a lot of Americans there. You think about, 6/35 were local people from Ireland just curious about what this sport of American football is all about because they like soccer. So these are some BC football players. Number 77 is a big guy. He's 6'7" feet tall, excuse me. Let's pretend we write that like 6 7/12, right? 6 feet and 7/12 inches. Number 18 is not that tall. He's only 5'8". Let's pretend we write his fraction as 5 5/6, right? How much taller is number 77 than number 82? So this key phrase, how much taller is number 77 than number 82? That should immediately let us know, hey, we need to subtract. So 6 7/12 minus 5 5/6. Right, so again, we don't have common denominators. We need to find them. Hopefully by now you realize the common denominator is 12. So this fraction can just stay the same, and this fraction we multiply by 2. So we have 6 7/12 minus 5 10/12. And we have a problem here. And yes, I want you to write this down. 7 is smaller than 10. So we borrow. We're going to borrow from the 6. So this 6 7/12, let's write that out like this. So I have 6 wholes and 7/12 is a fraction. I'm just going to put those there so you understand that this is a new part of the problem. So I'm going to borrow from the 6. If I borrow 1 whole, it becomes 5. And then the fraction that I borrow, I look at the denominator, it's divided into 12ths, right? So the 1 whole is going to be made up into 12 twelfths, right? Plus 7 twelfths. And now we have our new fraction of 5, and 12 plus 7 is 19 twelfths. And now we can go ahead and subtract 5 and 19 twelfths minus 5 and 10 twelfths. In doing so, 19 minus 10 is 9. Keep the 12. 5 minus 5 is 0. We don't put a 0, so it's just 9 twelfths. But we need to simplify 9 twelfths. We can divide both 9 and 12 by 3 to get 3/4, and we want to say inches taller. And that's our answer here. All right, so he's almost a foot taller than number 82. Here's a picture of it raining in Dublin. In Ireland, it rains a lot. And by a lot, I mean almost every other day. People are always using umbrellas. In June, it rained 20 out of 30 days. In April, it rained even more, 4/5 of the days it rained. As a fraction, how many days did it rain in total in the months of June and April? So you want to add those two together. But Mr. Mason, I only see one fraction. Well, 20 out of 30 can be made into a fraction, right? So you want to say 20 out of 30 plus 4/5. In fact, I'll write it differently so you can show your work, right? So you're going to use your how do I chart on that one and figure out this answer for me. Here's a picture of the Potato Famine Memorial in Dublin. The Potato Famine was when many Irish people starved to death because of lack of food. This was very, very sad. Imagine a farmer had 100 2/3 potatoes to feed his family for the month. Suddenly, one day, he lost 95 5/7 potatoes due to the famine. How many potatoes does he have left to feed his family? So the does he have left would be 100 2/3 minus 95 5/7. And again, I'll let you use your reference sheets there to figure that out. And lastly, these are euros. This is the money used in Ireland. While in Ireland, Mr. Mason needed a rain jacket, because it rains a lot. The jacket costs 64 1/5 euros. He gave the cashier 70 euros. How much money should he get back as a fraction? So how much should he get back? Again, should be subtraction, but we want to do the bigger number, which happens to be 70 minus 64 1/5. So 70 minus 64 1/5. Now this looks weird, right? Because this doesn't have a fraction. But what can I do? I can borrow, right? So if I borrow, let me set this up for you. It will be 69 5/5 fifths minus 64 and 1/5. That's the easy way just to change a whole number into a fraction. Because what is this really saying? Well, we have 69 plus 1 whole, right? Because this 5 divided by 5 is really 1, and 69 plus 1 is 70. So I haven't really changed this number at all. I've just changed the appearance so I can work with fractions. So you need to solve those 3 problems. You can do those in partners. When you are finished, you're going to go ahead and do this riddle. I'll set it up for you basically. They've given you the common denominator. You're just basically saying, all right, this was times 4, so I have to do this times 4, and I'll say 8. This was times 3, so I have to do this times 3, and this is 3. And I add it up. I get 11 over 12. I go to the bottom. I find 11 over 12. Oh, I don't know why that's moving, sorry. I go to the bottom. I find 11 over 12, and I cross it off. So 11 over 12, 11 over 12, 11 over 12. Where are you at? There you are. Cross it off. What's remaining will go right in there. And it will give you the answer to why are broken clocks so quiet. I'll do one more for you just in case you didn't get it. So this, to get to 40, will be times 8, which will give you 16. To get to 40 will be times 5, which will give you 15. 16 plus 15 is 39 over 40. So I'm looking for 39 over 40 here. And sorry, not 39, 31. A little too early for Mr. Mason this morning. 31. So cross that one off. As you see, there's mixed numbers here. So make sure if you ever get a mixed number, you are simplifying your answer. So for instance here, times 1, 7, times 2 is 2, 8. I get 15 over 10. That's improper. So I need to simplify that. 10 goes into 15 one time with 5 left over, so this equals 1 and 5/10. But then I need to simplify again because I can divide 5 and 10 by 5, so I get 1 and 1/2. Sorry, circle your answers to make this nice and neat. So 1 and 1/2 is right here. You'd cross that off. All right, good luck. Get to work, guys.